Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, welcome. Thank you for tuning in to the Mental Health Mentor. If you don't know, the Mental Health Mentor is the official talk show of Mindful and Melanated. And if you don't know, Mindful and Melanated is the official online sister circle in everything mental health and wellness for Black women online. I am Regina Renaye, aka Regina the Mindfulnista. I'm your host, your friend, maybe your foe. I don't know. If you are not already part of our online community, our online sister circle, you can join our community through Patreon. So if you go to www.patreon.com/mindfulmelanated, please feel free to join us. Feel free to join us. So what are we talking about today? Love. L-O-V-E, Black love to be exact. And basically how we can come together and heal as couples, as well as heal as a community. Now, during the month of May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, I want to talk about various aspects of mental health, not just coping skills for like depression and anxiety, although those are very, very important. But it's more than just coping skills for depression and anxiety. So, for example, in our last episode, we sat down with Coach Lee, and she is a productivity and accountability coach, and she basically, taught us how to get stuff done. If we're suffering from imposter syndrome or perfectionism, which are two things that Black women suffer from a lot. That's symptoms of the strong Black woman syndrome that we often talk about. But today I would like to talk to our guests about how romantic relationships can contribute to people's psychological well-being. But before we jump into this topic, just want to give y'all a friendly reminder. I'm not a clinician. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a doctor by any stretch of the imagination. But I am an expert. I'm an expert at being a Black woman. I'm an expert at being a Black woman with mental health issues. But please, do not use this as a substitute for therapy. This is for informational purposes only. So again, I'm not a clinician, but we do have a clinician, a licensed clinician on our show today. Her name is Guan Ellerbe. Guan is a licensed mental health. I have to read from here because she has a lot going on, okay? This got it going on, okay? Guan is a licensed mental health counselor, licensed social worker, certified clinical trauma professional. She earned her bachelor's in social work, her master's in marriage and family therapy, and is currently getting her doctorate in leadership psychology. Guan has worked in the human and social services profession for over 20 years. She is an expert working with individuals, couples, and trauma survivors, and understands the importance of maintaining healthy relationships. In 2017, Guan started leading Light Behavioral Health Inc. And earlier this year, she opened a brand new community behavioral health center. The mayor was there. The mayor was there. The state representatives was there. Listen, Guan got it going on. She's an author. She's an adjunct professor. She's a mother. She's a wife. She's a speaker. And she's just an all-around dope-ass chick. So join me in welcoming... Oh, my glasses fell. Join me in welcoming Dr. G. How you doing?
Hey, how are you? I'm okay. How's everything?
Thank you so much for coming on. I know last time we tried to do this, my it's not Instagram. What is this thing? The live stream. I'm elderly.
Yeah.
The live stream was all janky, so we couldn't get it together. But I'm so glad that we're able to do this
Same.
together now. Yeah.
Same, yes.
So I gave like a brief introduction about you. So why don't you, fill in the blanks? Let us know a little bit more about yourself.
Oh boy, one of the hardest things is always to talk about yourself. Especially someone like me. It is really challenging. But I mean, you said it all. I'm doing a lot right now. I have a mental health private practice, a behavioral health private practice that I've been running for almost 6 years now. We're opening the mental health clinic. And with the clinic, there's so many different programs and services that will come underneath that umbrella. And we've already started to launch a few of those things. As you mentioned, well, I don't know if you mentioned this, but I will mention it. My area of specialty is trauma in couples, and specifically couples who are dealing with trauma. Right. And so with that, we have a couples retreat. We have couples groups. We have trauma groups. I'm planning a trauma retreat. There's just so much coming down the pipeline. My brain just doesn't stop. I'm a Pisces, so anybody that knows anything about that, or if that matters to you, I'm always thinking and creative, and just my imagination just runs wild. So, yeah, it's just a lot going on.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for your service in the mental health field and specializing in trauma, because a lot of us have it. A lot of us don't even recognize what it is.
Right.
And so I just really appreciate that you took that on as a specialty. Could you start by sharing your views on how Black love and intimacy are uniquely influenced by cultural and societal factors?
Absolutely. I mean, and as I share this, some people might think of it as like, duh, right? Like we know this, but I think we really have to look at media outlets, TV, social media, musicians, actors, like those media, period. So a lot of what we see is romanticized by what we see in the media. A lot of Black people, particularly, let me just say, our generation and older, right? A lot of us weren't raised in homes with healthy relationships, healthy romantic relationships. So a lot of what we see is, from media. We have no shade on Cardi B and anybody else, but we have our Cardi B's, we have our, Love and Hip Hops. I don't even watch it anymore, but we have our Love and Hip Hops and all these things. And that's where we see romantic relationships, and, we try to mimic that, or, just try to be like these people. And I guess I'll get to that later, but my couples, I was just going to say, and I'll just really quickly with this, my couples retreat, I got the idea from reality TV, and, I think we're going to dive into that a little later. And when we do, I'll go into like where the idea, like how that started and what that was mimic after. But yeah, I think it's, media.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. And so does Erica V. She said, so true. And so I think like in this day and age, anyone with a smartphone and the internet is like a self-proclaimed relationship coach guru.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? And just be kind of like, oh, you got to do this, and don't go half on the date, and you got to wait 3 months, and all kind of stuff. Like it's crazy because like I've gotten sucked into that before. I'm not gonna lie, like
really?
for a long time, and probably still now to this day, like I'm on my all niggas ain't shit phase because of their internet. Telling me that niggas ain't shit. I'm like, I'm scrolling through like, yeah, maybe pay for half the date. Niggas ain't shit. So I do agree with you that
not all of them. We know it's not all of them, right? Like, listen, I'm a boy mom, and I've raised some decent men, some great men who I gotta say they are the shit.
Yes, I agree with that. But I'm just telling you, like how, like, influence, like literally, like when they say social media influencer, yes, that's for real. They really be influencing people.
Yes. What about you? You made me think about the thing that was going around with the young lady who she was trending because the guy took her on a date to Cheesecake Factory. And then that became this big thing, right? Where people felt like they were too good for Cheesecake Factory. Well, right before she posted that, you weren't too good for Cheesecake. But okay, never mind. Go ahead.
Listen.
I'm about to go on a whole
thoughts about dates and who should pay and who shouldn't and where we should go. But I love me some Cheesecake Factory. Like,
hello, like since when is the Cheesecake Factory like beneath us? I don't know.
I thought that's the place you go and it's like your birthday or something. That's a
Listen,
special occasion restaurant.
you could take me to the Cheesecake Factory, okay? I'm good. I'm good with it.
Listen,
Anyways, but
I'm
yes,
ordered
that's just an
dessert.
example of like how social media just influences relationships and expectations. You know,
Exactly.
it's no longer, in my opinion, it's no longer um, the home and what we were raised, you know,
Mhm.
generationally. You know, now it's media that's influencing us, and no longer like generational, you know, upbringing.
Yeah, and you're right. And you brought up a point where a lot of us, didn't grow up in a household where we saw, healthy, romantic, intimate relationships that we can emulate as adults.
Right.
Um, so how do you see, like, let me back up a little bit. So because we didn't see that, right? The next step is what? Heal ourselves, heal as a couple, in some communities, specifically in the Black community, seeking professional help, therapy is there's a stigma around that. So
Yes.
forget about, talk therapy as an individual. Now you want me to go tell my business what me and my man is doing, and how you supposed to help us? How I know you don't want my like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
how do you help, Black couples get over that stigma and get
Yeah.
over like the hesitation?
So two things around that, right? So number one, you don't have to have experienced something to know that it's not right or it doesn't feel right. Right. So even though we lacked some of that in our households growing up, you know, that the healthy romantic relationships, just because we lacked having that visible to us or in our purview, doesn't mean that we don't know that it wasn't right. If we seen our parents fighting or whatever it was, whatever trauma may have come down the pipeline, we knew when something didn't feel right, when something was right and wrong, right? Sometimes you don't. Some people do think that some things are just normal. So that's one thing. But the other thing about it is, you know, to help people break down the stigmas kind of goes into that. We know when we need some support. We know when we need help. We were raised, again, going back to generational, right? We were raised to keep what what happens in our house, it stays in our house. So that plays into reaching out for support, even for a relationship, for marriage, for individual therapy, for couples therapy, right? We keep our business and our stuff in home. We don't pour it out and tell our business to the people. And so I think we have to first start to realize that, you know, therapy is not you telling your business, putting your business in the streets. You're not putting your business in the streets. You're talking to someone who is professionally trained, who's licensed more than likely, who is bound to HIPAAs and policies and regulations to hold your stuff and not run it. You know, I'm not jeopardizing my license and my practice and anything else for it to go run and tell anybody's business. I'm sorry. It's not that deep for me. You
Mhm.
know, yes, it is deep, right? But not enough for me to go run your business.
Right.
So no, we're bounded to certain, you know, regulations that keeps what you say to us private. You know, sometimes we have to also understand that you can talk to your friends and family, you know, but a lot of times, can you talk to them? These are the questions I would pose. Can you talk to them not with non-judgmentally? Can you talk to them without censoring what you have to say because you're afraid of what they might say or how they might feel or what they might think about you? You know, when have you been able to talk to someone and really just bear it all and not have to worry,
Mhm.
not be judged? You know, so that for me is where I tell people, think about those things when you're considering therapy and if it's worth it for you.
Yeah. So if a couple is having some issues and they go to you for help, right? Like, what is like a typical, like, initial conversation look like? Because how you see on like sitcoms, and you see there's a couple that goes to like marriage counseling, and the husband's like, "Oh, I don't want to go," but they're just gonna tell you right anyway. Is it really like that?
It's yes and no. There has been times where it has been like that, but I gotta say, I think things are changing. They are really changing. Roles are reversing. It's so
Mm,
weird. It's crazy. I probably get more men signing up for couples therapy than I do women. That's first and foremost.
Oh,
Yes.
really?
And, you would even think, she's forcing him.
Mm-hmm.
Some maybe, right? I have heard, she said that she was on her last straw with me and that I needed to fix it. I need to do something. Or she said that, we needed to go to couples therapy and she made me responsible for being the one to go and seek counseling. So women are like not putting up with stuff anymore, right? But I'm seeing more men, even some men who think, I decided to reach out because I want to save my relationship. I want to save my marriage. So yeah, it's I was gonna say crazy, but it's not crazy, but it was weird to kind of see the increase influx in men reaching out for services. But a first initial session, it can really be, like you said, a man sometimes or someone, a partner feeling like they were drug in. But I always ask, do you both want to be here? I talk to each
Mm-hmm.
person. I don't, talk to just one part. I ask each individual, do you want to be here? Do you want to be here? What are your goals? What are your goals? And I'm repeating, right? And I want to know, because if you are not there for the same goal, then what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing? And it doesn't have to be, and when I say that, I don't mean you have to have identical goals. But if you're here to save your relationship, but this one's not here to save the relationship, what are we doing? Are you bringing this person here for me to try to convince them that this is what they need? Because I've seen that too, right? But I'll let you know quick. That's not my role. My role is not to convince you to stay in your relationship. My role is not even to make people stay together. And that's where a lot of people get it misconstrued. They think they're going to come to couples therapy and it's going to fix them and it's going to, help them stay. It's not always to help keep you together. Sometimes we help you to realize that maybe you don't need to be together, or maybe it's to help co-parent, whatever that may be. So an initial session can look different based off of why each person is there. I hope that answered your question.
It does answer the question. And y'all, she said, don't come to her looking for no love potions to keep that man with you. Okay? If you don't
I
want to
had a
be there, you
magic
don't want to be
wand.
there. Dr. Guan, not which Dr. Guan, okay? Don't get it twisted.
Yes, ma'am.
But you said something kind of deep where you're like, sometimes, it turns out that we're not here to save the relationship. We're here to dissolve the relationship.
Right.
That's a tough, big pill to swallow. That's like one of them horse pills to swallow. That's a big one.
It is. It is. And I think I really want to be clear too, because I don't want, I know somebody's going to say, well, she's wrong. Like, and I'm not saying that they have, and I think what they're going to say I'm wrong about, maybe it's just me, right? When I said that their goals have to align, because sometimes like somebody really may not want, they might say that they don't want to work on a relationship, but you're here.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, would you really be here if you didn't have some inkling of like hope for the relationship? So I just want to clarify that. So yeah, goals can be aligned, but they don't have to be identical.
So first session, you make sure both parties want to be there. You ask them their goals.
Yes.
Is there anything else to look out for that people should be prepared for if they
Yeah.
decide to go for this?
I also ask, how much work are you willing to put in? I want to know how much work you're willing to put in, because um, especially if the relationship has already been damaged, because it's going to take a lot of patience, time, and just energy pouring back into that relationship to repair it. If it's a relationship that hasn't been damaged, but maybe it's just like, we just want maintenance, we want to make sure we're good, we want to make sure we're same rules apply. Same rules apply, but it's just not, it may not be as hard, right? It's just, let's check in. Let's just work on community. Every couple that comes to see me, let me just say, always wants to work on some type of communication skill, because a lot that's where the issues come in. Every couple is lacking communication. So maybe this maintenance couple just wants to improve their communication. So we do that, it just really, yeah. And those are the things. And then depending on what they're coming with, what issues they're coming with, I'm trained in different modalities. So I might apply an Imago type of modality or a Gottman method, or maybe I'm
Oh,
bringing.
let me stop you right there. So For those of us who don't know, right, what is a modality?
Modality, pretty much like the type of therapy that I'm providing to you. So I'm trying to think of a different way to explain it. Um, yeah, it's like a different it's like a different hat, right? So for you, I might wear this hat because I need to offer this type of service to you, but to someone else, I might wear a different hat, right? So the modality really is just a different type of method and approach that I'm
Your
taking.
method and approach. Okay.
Mhm.
And you mentioned a couple of them.
Yeah, so Imago and Gottman, those are two that I'm trained to use, and those are couples therapy modalities. And a lot of these couples therapy modalities mimic each other, they mirror each other, and they borrow from one another. And so I do the same. I'm trained in several different modalities. So depending on what that particular person or couple needs, I can pivot and I can see, someone who, for instance, with trauma, I'm trained to do brain spotting or EMDR, and there's these trauma focused CBT. So there's different things. So based off of what you come to me with, I might say, you know what, you might be a really great candidate for a EMDR or, something like that. So each, it's no cookie cutter approach. I'll say that.
Okay.
I hope I said a lot, but I hope I.
I should have brought my glossary of terms messing around with you. Uh, so you mentioned like communication, right? So I've been in relationships where I've had made requests.
Mhm.
So let me back up. You know how some people be like, well, you should know better. Like, you should know I like flowers on Valentine's
Mhm.
Day. But if you never tell them, they
Right.
don't know. Okay, that's fair. That's a fair statement. Even though I think that don't make no sense because everybody wants, not everybody, but most people want like a gift on Valentine's Day. So I call cap on that. But let's just say they genuinely, honestly didn't know.
Yeah.
And you tell them this, right? You're like, I like flowers on Valentine's Day. And then so Valentine's Day 2025 comes and you don't have any flowers. But I
Mhm.
told you in 2024, I told you in 2023. Like, to me, that's effective communication. I'm telling you directly what I want
Yeah.
on this holiday, pagan or not.
Right. Right.
How do you address something like that? Like, if I came to you and was like, oh, my man, he don't want to give me no flowers on Valentine's Day. And I keep telling him, like, how do you, how do you address that?
All right. So I always try to help understand each side. Now, aside from being a therapist, just being a person, I am a people pleaser. And
Mm.
so I always do devil's advocate, which plays well into being a therapist. So I'm always trying to see both sides of it and understand both sides. But what I really think has been most effective is when you can help someone else see something in a way that they understand it.
So, like,
So,
say my example. How would you address me? Like, Dr. G, my man's not giving me no flowers. What should we do?
well, I'm going to ask him, why aren't you giving her any flowers? Right? Where's the lapse in communication? And then I want to understand from him, what are you hearing when she says she wants flowers? When she's giving you these blatant, what she believes is blatant, directives,
Yes, yeah.
what are you hearing? How are you hearing it? How are you interpreting that? Right? A lot of times people show love, and I know a lot of people talking about love languages, and I think it's a real thing, but a lot of people show love in their language.
Mm.
So even though he might not be getting you flowers, he might be doing something else that's speaking in the language that he wants or that he receives or that he understands. Right. And what I do for with a lot of men, when it's a heterosexual couple, I try to have, especially, Massachusetts men, they're all into sports. I'm gonna say it. They're all into some type of sports, right? And so using sports analogies
Mm.
works very well for men. When you can help him understand your perspective using a sports analogy, he gets it. I don't know.
Y'all
Huh?
better get your ESPN subscription. Learn some analogies. But that makes sense. Like, yes, I'm saying I want flowers, but the question to the man is, what do you hear?
Yeah.
when she's saying that, because to him it might sound like you said, a directive. Like,
Yeah.
who you, like, what, like, I should want to do it. Like, you shouldn't be forcing me to do it. I should want to do it. Okay, so that's a good point.
But also, right? I'm sorry, before you move on, the other thing, because as you said that, right? I'm also wondering, how was it said? Because again, as we're talking about, what is he hearing? How was it said? I say this a lot of times. It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So again, if it's a directive, maybe he doesn't want to be talked to in that way. Maybe who knows? I don't know what the reason is for why he won't get you those flowers, but he has a reason. He's hearing something else, possibly. Maybe he thinks something else. It could be a number. Maybe he just don't want to get you flowers. I don't know.
Who do you want to give Regina flowers? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So I'm sorry.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. By the way, I do not have a man that's refusing to give me flowers. I am actually very single because, like I said, I'm on my niggas ain't shit. Anyway, moving on. So, I think you kind of talked about this a little bit, but what are some like barriers to intimacy that you frequently see in specifically Black couples, and what therapeutic approaches have you found to be effective in overcoming these barriers?
Mm. Common barriers in intimacy, I think, is trauma is number one. Past trauma. And honestly, I've started to see this in men as well. I was going to say women. I see it a lot of women, but I've started to see it in men. And maybe it's men opening up more about it. Maybe that's why I'm seeing it more. But where trauma is hindering them from moving forward, whether it's being touched, whether it's wanting or feeling feeling wanted, feeling desired, right? A lot of times what I've seen is that past trauma is the biggest barrier to intimacy. And maybe it could be a loss of voice because you had some type of experience in childhood or as a child, and you were told you didn't have a voice, or you weren't believed, or you was taught to be silent, right? So when you don't like something as an adult related to intimacy, you still don't have a voice. So you don't know how to say, I don't like that, or I like this, or, so I really believe a lot of things are rooted in our childhood, and they manifest themselves, in different ways as an adult. So I would address if there's some previous trauma, and we would work through, like, what is that trauma? How has it manifested itself? How is it showing up for you today? And then how can we work on moving past that so that we can get to intimacy? And and again, I don't know if you were talking about physical intimacy or all levels of intimacy, but
yeah, all levels, like physical, like even like the intimacy of being vulnerable.
Yeah.
That could be tough.
And my question would be, what happened the last time that you were vulnerable with someone and you showed vulnerability? What happened? What made you put up that wall so that now you don't feel comfortable showing that and being that?
I saw a meme on the internet, of course. I saw a meme on the internet, and it said, if you heal your inner child, you're like healing your outer adult. Or so. I'm messing it up. I'm mucking it up.
No, but it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, because like, to your point about like trauma in childhood can manifest in your intimate relationships.
Absolutely. That kid that was hurt, oh, they're always going to show up in in an adult relationship. They're not going nowhere until they're, they're worked with.
Yeah, that's a tough pill. Again, a tough pill to swallow. This is kind of on topic.
Okay.
Can you discuss the relationship between self-love and romantic relationship health? Like, how can I improve like my personal mental health so that it impacts the relationship?
Yeah, so many times I see people trying to do both at the same time. They're trying to work on themselves while being in a romantic relationship. Now, I'm not here to say it doesn't work. I can't say that. But I think it's challenging. And I think it depends on the people, right? If you have someone who is a partner who understands that you have to work on yourself, that you're dealing with a lot and you need to heal within, and they're patient and they're willing to stick by you and help you through that, great. A lot of times, though, people don't find someone like that. They find someone else who's also been through a lot of trauma, and then that person doesn't understand, and then there's this constant battle, and then you have a toxic relationship, right? And then you have that trauma bonding and all that crap that goes on. I think that sometimes we have to be selfish, even in a relationship, and we have to put ourselves first. We have to work on ourselves. I think it's so important that we prioritize our mental health in the same ways that we do our medical health and other things on that, spectrum. Because some people don't even prioritize their medical health, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Same way you would if an analogy I use with my clients is if you had an asthma attack and you needed to take an inhaler, you're going to use that inhaler because you need to breathe.
Mhm.
And so why wouldn't you get some sort of treatment for your mental health when your mental health is clouded and can't breathe? Get some help, no, take care of you first sometimes. And it doesn't mean you neglect everybody else, but in that moment, for even if it's just once a week, an hour a week that you are just pouring into you, it's important. We have to do that. We have to make time for ourselves.
Yeah, that's a big one because I feel like a lot of times people, especially women, more specifically Black women, like self care is like on the at the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah,
Like we have so
absolutely.
much to do, and it's like we're like tired, and then oh, you want me to take a bubble bath, or you want me to like actually get some sleep,
Yeah.
you know?
And you mentioned the strong black woman syndrome, and that is exactly what goes into that. That's what that is, right? Black women who put everyone else above herself. She takes care of everyone else. She's superwoman,
Hmm.
right? She's taking care of everything, everyone. And then at the end of the day, who's taking care of her? Someone said to me one day, who helps the helper?
Mm,
Right. And I'm like, oh, and they were saying it to me because I wasn't stopping to ask for help in a situation where I needed some help.
right.
And they said, well, who helps you? Who helps the helper?
How do you give it? So, what advice would you give someone who is in a relationship? They're already in a relationship and they're having some mental health issues. Like, would you suggest that they like pause the relationship to work on themselves?
I think it's again, individual situation. I would need to know that situation. But when couples come to see me for couples therapy, I always suggest they also have individual therapy
Okay.
because my role in that moment is to be a couples therapist. So I'm working with the three of you, the two people, and then the couple, and the relationship is the third pretty much person in that relationship. So I'm working with the three of you. I'm not working on you individually. So there might even be times where something shows up in a couples relationship therapy session, and I redirect the person and I say, I think that's something you really need to talk to your therapist about, your individual therapist about. And I might contact that individual therapist and say, hey, with the client's permission, of course, this something came up. I noticed this and that. I think this is something that is worth exploring. And so there might be things that you might want to redirect to your individual therapist, especially as it relates to mental health stuff. But I would say have an individual therapist, even if you're in couples therapy.
And you would make sure like it's a collaborative effort
I would
between
try.
the individual
I
therapists.
will
Okay.
try because you want the goals to align. You want what I'm working on in couples therapy. So if I'm working with you on how to be more assertive in your relationship, then I would like for your individual therapist to always also know that we're working on that.
Mhm, mhm.
And maybe they're checking in with you. Maybe they're giving you strategies on how to also do that. Maybe they're working on why you're not doing that. They're going deeper to find out why you're not doing that. Whereas in a couple session, we might touch on some of that trauma and the stuff that's going to, but I got to work with 3 people here, not just one.
Right.
So, and then of course, my practice, we take most insurances within Massachusetts. So insurance also limits the amount of time that we're spending together. So there's not a whole lot of time for me to go really deep. Time is of the essence when it comes to these things, and insurances suck. And that's just another tangent that I can go on. So I won't do that.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, folks. Like when you're seeking like services, just because your insurance covers behavioral health or mental health, you need to know the ins and outs, because there's some insurances where you only get like 20 sessions a year or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Not all you can't just go every week with all insurances.
Right.
So,
and to add to that, I think knowing about how many sessions it will cover, what it will cover, and because there's times where people will have a deductible and have to pay that. Even for mental health, you have to pay your deductible, and they don't understand that, or pay their copay, and they don't understand that they still have to pay a copay. So things like that is really important. And then when we take insurances, we're contracting with these insurances, and in that contract it says that we will charge you your copay or your deductible. And so clients get upset a lot of times because they want us to waive a copay, for instance. Well, I can't afford it. Unfortunately, I would be breaching my contract if I don't charge you.
Right.
So just wanted to add that.
Yeah, because I'm not going to say no company names, but I recently found out I had a copay, and they didn't tell me I had a copay till I was $300 worth of sessions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway.
I listen, we ain't perfect either, okay? And so with that, and I'm not saying you specifically, Regina, but I think that, like you said, people really need to make sure they're doing their homework to understand what their policies are covering, because what the practice will probably say is it's your responsibility.
Of course.
To contact your insurance to find out what you have, what your responsibility is. So
rightfully so. Rightfully so. But damn, why didn't you start collecting from day one? Why did you wait till I was freaking 15 sessions in?
Let me ask you, was it virtual therapy services?
No.
They were in person? Okay, never mind. Okay. I don't know. I can't answer that. I was, and the reason I was asking, because the virtual, sometimes it's harder to kind of keep track when you're virtual. We went into this virtual world, and everybody's still learning how to manage and pivot to this. But I can't speak. If you're in person, yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, what it's saying about me, this is about the couples out there. So I know you're a marriage and family therapist, but would you have any advice for like us out here, us single girls out here trying to, well, not me, because my thing. But like how do you help people navigate this new dating scene? Like everyone's on these apps, and no one, like you mentioned, we're stuck in this virtual world. Mm-hmm. No one meets each other in person. Like there's, like I said, the internet's telling people like, women shouldn't be shooting their shot. That's masculine, and and saying like, no, how do we know you like us? And like, what is your advice for Black women navigating this dating scene in 2024?
That's hard. That's a hard question, because I don't know what that's like. I don't know.
You've been married for a million years. I forgot.
I don't know. And not only have I been married for a long time, but I don't know. We didn't have social media. So
that's true. I forgot who I was talking to. We're gonna have another guest come on. Let's go talk about dating so we can get us some minutes.
Yeah, that's not my wheelhouse. I don't know. I mean, I get the women who are, or people who are down and beating themselves up because they can't find a partner. And so I'm treating the depression and the anxiety and the trauma. I don't know. I don't have advice for how to get the person. I don't know. I'll watch that episode though. When you bring that person on, I definitely would love to watch it.
So you mentioned a retreat that you're going to be planning soon, a couples retreat, and you said that you kind of mirrored it from a reality show. Which show was that?
So let me just tell y'all, this retreat is near and dear to me because I've put a lot of energy, time, and planning into doing this. So there is the celebrity couples retreat show. It was the celebrity couples retreat, and then it was another. It was multiple couples retreat show. There were shows, and so it had the Love and Hip Hoppers and things like that. Those people from those reality shows that were coming on, and they're coming in as a couple, and now they are going through couples therapy, right? And I think that was one of the shows. I think it was couples therapy and it was couples retreat, something like that. People can correct me. But anyways, I really love the idea of doing this, right? Having a group of people who are I don't, not because they're not just Black people, but they are culturally aware, like, and just our culture. It was culture that was coming to these retreats, and they're getting help and support on their relationships. And on this show, they really not only talked about the relationship, but again, they were touching on that trauma, right? And it was talking about how that trauma is showing up in that relationship and how can we heal from this, right? And so I'm watching this show and I love it. As a therapist, I think any professional, when you see a show that does what you do, you kind of critique it. I'm sure doctors and nurses do it with, the Grey's Anatomy and all that, right? So I do that too. We do that with therapy. But this show, I really, really like it. And so I wanted to figure out, how can I bring this to the layperson? How can I bring this to the person who doesn't have the millions of dollars, who doesn't have platinum albums and all of that stuff, right? How can we get those same types of services for our people affordably? So I pretty much was like, let me do something similar to this. So I created the couples retreat, and very disheartening because I did a lot of marketing and promoting for this retreat, and our people are just not, they're not signing up. They're not buying. I don't know if it's a service that's not needed, if it's not a service that's not wanted. Again, my thinking is that part of it is that generational curse of what happens in the house stays in the house. So people don't want to sit with other people and kind of talk about what's going on in their relationships. But I got to tell you, a lot of my couples are going through the same exact thing. I think that you can save yourself a lot of money and time by doing a couples retreat, by doing a couples group, something of it, because people can heal each other. Community, having that support system, learning how other people are going through the same thing you're going through, and what did they do to get through it? Surrounding yourself with people who are like you, right? I'm sorry, I don't believe that my husband, who's been married for X amount of years with me, should be out there hanging with a bunch of single men. I got a problem with that. My husband doesn't, by the way. But it's okay if you have a couple of single friends, right? But if your whole friend group are all single, what are we doing?
Right.
What are we doing? So come to these types of groups and surround yourself with people who are like you, who understand your struggle, because that single friend doesn't understand your struggle. So that's the couples retreat. We were supposed to have this first one launch in August. I had to put it on pause because I just didn't have enough registrants. And so I'm going to try again. I'm not giving up. We're going to try again. We're going to keep marketing. We're going to keep pushing it. People can reach out and get on the wait list. We do have a payment arrangement for it. I think it's a very reasonable rate. It's $2,500 per couple, not per person, all inclusive, and lots of great tools and strategies and workshops. So it includes all the workshops. You get a free couples photo shoot. It just comes with a lot of things that, I'm just really happy about it and proud, but I don't know what else the people want. I don't know. Yeah. So
I'm gonna get booed up just so I can go to the retreat so I get my photo shoot. Does insurance cover the retreat or no?
No, the insurance won't cover, and insurance barely covers anything really, to be honest. So they won't cover the retreat.
Yeah. And it covers like so the retreat, the 2,500 per couple, that's transportation to the place, that's the
Yes.
accommodations, that's the food, that's the
Yes.
therapy, all the
Yes.
activities.
Yes. Oh, the off-site activities are up to the couple, that's on their expense, but
But
everything else
everything in
is
the actual retreat is okay.
right included.
I
Yes.
I agree with you about the whole group thing because I'm a big supporter of like groups. Like, I do peer support. That's what, Mindful Melanated was all about. It was founded on a peer to peer model because I just feel like, like you said, there's a level of comfort knowing that um, people are going through the same thing that you're going through. Like, you're not happy that someone's going through this traumatic event
Right.
that you went through, but it's comforting knowing like, hey, this resonates with you and you can talk to me about it because you've been there, done that, or you're
Exactly.
currently in it. And like you
Yeah.
said, a single person is not gonna have that same like perspective and mindset because I know my friends tell me about that man. I'd be like, niggas ain't shit, leave him. But I'm, I'm a single friend. So listen, I'm always gonna say that, like, leave him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or he didn't walk the wrong, leave him.
Oh my! And see, I'm never gonna tell somebody to leave their person. See, you see why you go to a trained person and not your friend.
Exactly. Don't come to Regina, go to Guan. Because I'm gonna tell you to leave him. Because niggas ain't shit.
But I think if I can imagine why people won't sign up for a retreat, I think they're fearful of like putting all their dirty laundry out there. But I gotta say, a lot of what we have planned for the retreat is not people putting their dirty laundry out. A lot of what is personal can remain personal. You're doing a lot of internal work and a lot of work within yourselves, but a lot of the learning is happening in a group setting.
Yeah.
And so I just want to put that out there because if anyone is fearful of saying, hey, I wanted to sign up for a retreat or something, but I just I didn't want to become vulnerable in front of a group of people.
Right.
Right. There's a level of vulnerability. You might get a little bit uncomfortable. That's normal.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to have people when they're like bawling there. I can't say that. I'm not going to have you bearing all of your stuff. You're not going to come out there completely, naked and vulnerable. Like we're going to, and you're going to have a lot of support as you're working through that process. That's the key, right? Because when you're doing that stuff at home and you're talking about the trauma and the stuff you're in the relationship stuff, you don't have someone else there who is keeping you safe, psychologically safe.
Right.
And that's what we can provide.
That is a good point because like sometimes like you'll go to like even for me like a therapy session or like a peer group and then it's like okay the hour's over and you just freaking trauma dumped all your stuff and it's like okay what am I doing now?
Right.
I'm like by myself with these thoughts, feelings, and emotions. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you that having that support from your team and the other couples is very important because just sitting with that by yourself, that's tough.
Yeah.
Well, if y'all couples out there listening, y'all need to get this retreat on and popping. What's like the maximum? What's the minimum and the maximum number of couples you'll do?
So the minimum is about 4. And they're small because I want to keep them intimate, right?
Yeah.
So 4 couples, and the maximum is about 8 couples.
Okay.
Yeah. And people that can't make the first one come to the next one. And I tried to, well, the first one we were planning this one, and again I put it on hold. We'll do it again. Possibly, I don't know, I'm thinking next spring. That gives people time if they need to make payment arrangements or what have you, they can work on that. But I lost my train of thought of what I was just about to say about it.
We were talking about the minimum, maximum number of couples because you want to keep it small and intimate.
Yeah.
When plans are available.
Brain fog. I've been working all day, y'all. I'm tired. Brain fog. Yeah, I want to keep it intimate. and I think it makes it more, it's safer. It makes it safe. It gives
Yeah.
people more individual attention and one-on-one to be able to kind of really get time in. A lot of the professionals, my team, is there to kind of be there to help, and we're all alternating to facilitate groups and workshops and things like that. We give a lot of tools and so part of the goal of this is so that you could get tools that you can walk away with, go home and implement. We're not just going to have you come here and do a bunch of stuff and lay around. We want you to go home and do homework. We want you to go home and do work.
Yeah.
So if you want to continue on in couples therapy when you go home, to just continue with the homework and the exercise is great. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. We're giving you a starter kit so that you can go home and say, okay, let's try to implement these things. You also get a workbook that was designed and made by me. So as you know, Regina, I have published a few books, workbooks and journals and that sort of thing. So I have a couples workbook and journal that the couple get, and they get to work together on these things. So you get a lot of great things at this retreat. So trust me, this is a retreat that's well worth way more than the $2,500.
Yeah, I was gonna say, listen, cash in that vacation fund and do a couples retreat.
Yes, I will definitely. I think because I took down the landing page because we weren't getting the registrants, and the reason I had to do this all of a sudden is because I was under a time constraint with that. If I didn't have the number of guests by a certain time, I would have lost the money on the spot, on the venue. And that's what I was going to say when I got the brain fog. But the first retreat is going to be in Maine. Sorry, not Maine. The Cape. It's going to be in the Cape. And again, we will have a transportation van that brings us down, and we can all go down together. People can get there on their own. It's on a resort, so that you have access to the beach and to shopping, like just so many just great things that are offered in this location. But I wanted to keep it close to Massachusetts, but in a place that, is really good scenery. So
Yeah,
it was on
it's kind of
Hyannis.
it's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if people are interested in finding out more or want to get on the wait list, so that we can start marketing it again, if I get at least 3 registrants, I will definitely, it'll be back on. I just had to pause it because we didn't get enough people, but they can email me at Guan, Guan, at myleadinglight.site. And so will you post that? I don't know if you can post it there, but Guan at myleadinglight.site. And that's how you guys get more information. Oh,
There
thank you.
is.
You guys are fast.
There you go. Email, we ain't putting this down because y'all need to write it down. Take a picture. I'm booked. No, I'm playing. So yes, like sign up, y'all, because I feel like that would be $2,500.
Yeah.
So for y'all who don't live in Massachusetts, the Cape, as she referred to, is Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and it's like a beach resort area here in Massachusetts. It's very beautiful. It's very beautiful. So yeah, take advantage of this.
Yeah. Your meals are included, room and board, like you get everything. It's all inclusive pretty much, like I said, and if you don't want to be a part of, you don't have to.
Yeah. So if you're interested, again, go ahead and reach out directly to Guan, email her. And if she gets like 3-4 couples, it's all like popcorn.
So can I add one more thing to that? I also am open to doing groups, retreats with groups of people. So we can do friend groups retreats, right? So for a group of friends who want to work on repairing a relationship or strengthening their relationship. So very much we're open to doing retreats with variety of groups. It doesn't have to just be romantic couples. I'll say that. This can be siblings. It can be family members. It can, we could do private retreats, which will be what the therapy world, we call them intensives, when you have like multiple days in a row of doing therapy. So we can do family intensive or friend intensives, things like that as well.
That sounds good. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, gang up, get a bunch of girls, hash out. Because, sometimes, you have tension in friendships too,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely.
So we're almost at that hour where let's look at some questions
Yes,
and
ma'am.
comments from the Chizat. Um, so Erica says, because women are always taught to be strong, how would a Black woman go about speaking up and telling her mate that she has mental health issues, especially when entering a new relationship or a potential relationship? That is a really good question. And before you answer that question, I'm going to say this. I was dating someone and I hid the fact that I had depression from this person because I
Mhm.
was doing well at that time. And then I had an episode and he didn't know what to do. And I basically said, I have, depression. I've had depression since I was a kid. Sometimes, I have these ups and downs or whatever. And he wasn't super blunt about it, but he was basically saying, what is in my face? He basically told me, for lack of better words, if I would have known you had depression, I would have never entertained this.
Wow.
Yeah. So that question is a really good, like, how do you tell
It really
somebody
is.
up front?
Erica, that is a great question. And I'm going to add to that, Regina. And I don't generally, especially in seeing clients, I don't, share my private life a lot. But I will tell you, that was me. Even as a therapist, I dealt with a lot of, depression and anxiety, specifically due to trauma. And I didn't tell my husband that I was seeing
Mm,
a therapist. I didn't tell him for a long time that I was seeing a therapist. And I'm a therapist. Right. And then, when I started dealing with some of the stuff I was dealing with, I would try to hide it. But he knew. He knew. He saw it. And he was getting frustrated. He was getting upset when he saw me get upset, not knowing that I'm dealing with a mental health issue. So, I had to find a way. And it was through therapy, honestly, Erica. Therapy helped me find my voice and find out that it's okay for me to tell him, because particularly for me as a therapist, I said, how can I help other people when I'm going through so much myself?
mhm,
And then I started to question, am I a good therapist? Can I be
mm.
effective? Like, am I really, the person to be able to do this work? And I had to look in the mirror. And my therapist said to me, no, that's what makes you a good therapist. The fact that you have lived experience, you've gone through a lot, and that you know what it feels like. And so my suggestion would be, talk to a therapist, talk to someone who can help you get to a point to do, because I can't give you a quick fix answer for that. It's going to take time. Again, that's probably due to some type of trauma or childhood, something that's preventing a person from speaking up and telling their mate that they have, and it's the stigma too, right? Especially if you're a person of color, the stigma of like, we're not supposed to have, ain't nothing wrong with you, or you're crazy, right? And so,
Right, right, exactly. The two extremes, exactly.
yeah, so we don't want to speak up and say anything, but you getting some support and help on an ongoing basis around how to deal with that, because there could be backlash, like with you, Regina, where that person said they wouldn't. So it's not always going to end up good. So you're also going to need support on how to manage that.
Right.
So again, it might sound cliche, but get a therapist, find somebody that can help you work through being able to talk about that.
Yeah, that's really good. And like, what was I gonna say? For me now, I don't mind telling folks
Hmm.
because I'm a mental health advocate, so that's the first thing I tell people. Oh, what do you do?
Yeah.
I do project coordination as my day job, and I'm really passionate about mental health. I'm a mental health advocate. I have an organization. Da, da, da. Oh yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I found it because I suffer from depression. Like I go right into it and I own it. So I don't say it like, oh, I have depression. I say like, yeah, I have depression, and I started a whole organization. And
Right.
so like because I have that confidence and I own it, it doesn't scare people away anymore.
Yeah.
And so Eb says about the family retreat. She said, "Oh hell no, you would send my family home and refund us, but this is so tough."
I'm gonna tell you, like I said before earlier, right? My job is not to fix everybody. Not let me. How do I put it? Right. I don't have a magic solution to make everything all better. But if I could make one little change, I've done my job.
She just saying that so she don't have to refund your money, girl.
That part too.
Listen, this has been a really good conversation. Do you have like any like closing like words for us? Any words of encouragement out there for those who are in marriages and relationships?
Call me.
There you go.
Sign up for one of our services. Come to one of our couples groups that we have weekly or our retreat. Call me.
All of y'all. All right. Well, thank you so much for everyone who tuned in. Oh my goodness. Thank you for all the questions and the comments. I really enjoyed having this conversation with you, Guan. And like she said, if you are interested in her services, she does not only do, couples and marriage therapy. She does do individual therapy. She does focus in trauma. She does have youth. She has a pediatric practice as well. So kids, she does the whole shebang.
Expressive arts. We have expressive arts. We have a free dance group therapy coming up in the fall. And we have walk-in services coming in the fall as well. You just got to sign up for the newsletter. Go to the website and sign up for the newsletter.
Thank you. All of that. The dance class, could we like twerk in that class?
Want to do pole dancing?
Ooh, do that? Drop my fat ass and break that damn pole. Let's stop. Let's just stop. Anyway. But yeah, thank you again. And this was our episode of the Mental Health Mentor, where we talked about love and healing relationships and intimacy. If you liked today's episode, please like it, please share it, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and to all my social medias. If you want to be a part of the conversation on a deeper level and join our sister circle, we have an online sister circle where we just do deep dives behind the scenes with our resident therapists and amongst ourselves. So if you would like to join the group, you can join via Patreon. So that's patreon.com/Mindful Melanated. So make sure you comment below and let us know like what you liked about the conversation, what you didn't like about. Don't tell me what you didn't like. Don't hurt my feelings. No, I'm just kidding. Tell us what you like, what you didn't like. If you have some gems yourself that you wanted to drop for us, please do. So again, thank you, Guan.
Thank you. Regina, will you have me back?
Oh, you want to come back?
I want to come back. Well, do y'all want me back?
They want you back. I ain't going to put them in, but they want you back. I need you to come back so you can help me with my niggas ain't shit phase, okay? Walk me through that.
Got you.
There's that episode.
I got a book for that too. No.
A book you do?
No.
All right, we're just playing in your face now. All right, we're going to end this live stream. We hope y'all have a good night and tune in next time.